Hello, this is an extract from some training I did around lease options. Please watch this. This is about why people will do an option deal. Okay, so we're going to talk about why some vendors agree to an option deal. So first of all, it is, number one, is relocation. So, it's normally jobs where they're away from that city or abroad. And that really means that some people, they don't want to miss out on the capital growth on that property. So they like to hold it, and the idea that when you go along, especially if you're marketing direct to them, as they're going to sell it, if they sold it now, they're going to miss out on the capital growth. But you're offering not just that you're going to buy it in the future, maybe 5 years' time, but you're going to give them a share of the profit. So that's very powerful. So relocation, I would say, is number one, probably the one I find the most. Number two, divorce. All right. Unfortunately, it's one of the things which the government has made a lot easier. But divorce means that one household now becomes two. So the need for more properties is just going up all the time. Now, the thing with divorce, to get an option, you need both people's consent. So when I went and did one particular house, the husband was living in the house and the wife was away. So they didn't know what to do. I went along. It was actually given to me by a friend of mine. I went along and had a chat. And the guy wanted to sell, couldn't sell. I've got the deal, I'll show you later, this one. And when I floated the option deal to him, I tried to buy it first and he said no. So I floated the option. He said, well, in principle, I quite like the idea, but I jointly own it with my wife and she lives somewhere else now. So I said, well, I need to get you together. And so we actually got together and we sat down, and he didn't really want to, and we went through the whole thing, and they took the option. So they both signed, and we went through to do the option on that property, which is really, really good. There's more to that story later on. But it's not impossible, but it is harder, and you have to get both in at the same time. If you don't, what tends to happen is that one has agreed one thing and the other one starts to get a bit nervous and disagreeing. So if you've got them both at the same time, you sit and you all agree, and you get it on paper and you write it down, you get them both to sign, then you can start to get the contract up like that. Alright? This one, probate. You said death. Unfortunately, death is business. The only two things you can be certain of is death and taxes. You're absolutely right. But death does bring a huge opportunity. So let's take and I see a lot of this. I showed you a picture earlier of that property in Lincoln where it's run down, and it looks like nobody's living there, but unfortunately there's a gentleman living there, and I think he's going to live there till he dies. Now, I also have been to a lot of properties with elderly people, and you wouldn't keep an animal in that house. It's really quite upsetting. And well, it's true. And even with my own father-in-law, he lives in a 2 up, 2 down. But it really needs renovating. It hasn't been renovated for many, many years. And I said, look, when you finally go, we're going to renovate it and we'll sell it. I said, but why don't we renovate it now and you live and enjoy it? And his classic response to me says, I'll think about it. And that's what he always does. Because when you get older, they don't like change. So when you go in, it's quite heartbreaking to see that, the final years of people's lives, they live in not squalor, but it could be so much better, especially the technology we've got today, Hive and, TV and internet, and you can speak, you put a camera up there and do Skype with your kids and all sorts. So it's quite challenging, but probate brings huge opportunity on an option, especially for an assisted sale. So this is where you would take the option, a purchase option, you would go in, put your money into that property, and you'll do it up, and then you'll sell it. Now, the key is, and this is really important, when you get probate, there are beneficiaries. There would be the children or relatives of that person who's died. You need 100% agreement from every single person of the beneficiaries, or you can't do it. So if there's 8 beneficiaries and one says no, you can't do the option. So I have a general rule. If there's 2 beneficiaries, 1 or 2, I will pursue the option. If there's any more than 2, I don't. I just drop it. Purely because it's an expense of my time, and what I found is when you get to 3, 4, 5, somebody in it says, no, I don't want it. And it's a waste of time. And then you've got to go and explain, and you might not get it, and things move, and just let them get on with it. But, there's a really good opportunity, because you can see, if there's a house there, it doesn't matter, £500,000 or something, and it's worth 650, and even if you chuck 50,000 in it and split, you can make a quick £25,000 profit in a short space of time. So there's a real, but that's by giving 50% extra to the beneficiaries. So there's a real opportunity there. All right. Next one, upsizing, which you rightly got on the list there. Oh, no, you didn't. You got downsizing. You didn't get upsizing. But people have on upsizing. When you have children, Leslie's just got little Mateo in here today. Beautiful. So as you grow, you want another bedroom and another bedroom. And if you have 4 kids like me, you need a bigger house. And that's why we didn't have a TV for 2.5 years. That's why the family grows. So if you don't want a big family, TV, right? It's a golden tip, right? But it is true, as people grow, they start to move. So where people are fairly, it can be affluent. I know with auctions, a lot of people think it needs to be people in desperate situations. That's how it used to be, in negative equity and all of this. It doesn't have to be. Some people are quite, they're quite affluent, and they're quite happy to go and buy another house, or even rent a bigger house. And they say, well, the time's not right to sell, we are in a little bit of a dip, I would like to benefit from an increase, because I know after Brexit in 5 years' time, this would have risen by another 20-30%. If they can get some of that, then they may well consider having an option with you purely by upsizing, by leaving that. They may even be able to take some money out of that house and use it to deposit for a second house. So what they're doing is future pacing some profit in that house. So that could be a good business decision. So it's not always about finding tack or people in negative equity. Is that all right? Cool. Downsizing, kids going off. The classic is, I love Rich Dad Poor Dad. When, the 2 fathers, I was actually just talking to a friend when I was playing golf the other day about this, and said, his father was the classic university lecturer, and his best friend's father was the guy who wasn't a lecturer, and complete opposite almost. And say, you never say you can never afford it. Always say, what can we do and how can we afford to do that? And so that's the thing. Downsizing is when the kids go away, what are you going to do? A lot of people don't like rattling around in a big house. My wife does, but a lot of people don't. So when they want to downsize, quite often that could be to a bungalow or something. So again, how do you get hold of these? Do you want a long-term let? When they're downsizing, you might not get a purchase lease option unless you think you could turn it into an HMO. But let's suppose then there's a real opportunity here as a purchase option to turn it into flats. So it's a bigger house, could you convert it into flats? Can you make 2, 4, 6, can you build in the garden 8 flats? So that's another opportunity. So when you go in and see larger properties, don't start thinking, oh my goodness, I can't do anything with it because there's nothing. Just think, what can I do? So look, I have a phrase, I never see property, I only see potential. All right? So that's something that you can think. So when people are coming away from it, there might be an opportunity to get them more than they thought. Because imagine if you could turn it into 4 flats, the uplift could be quite significant, that they could make a big chunk of money. They might even be able to live mortgage-free on their second home, which is quite appealing. Next one, financial problems, debt. That is a real one. Will we come back into that place again in the economy? Yeah, I think some people will. There are places where people get into debt. I've talked about stepchange.org, about helping people in debt. But this is a real opportunity. Negative equity properties are opportunities, not for an assisted sale. This is much more for the long-term purchase lease option where you're going to take it over 5, 6, 7, even 20 years. All right. So that's something is a real thing. As I said, with debt, I've gone to court and stopped people repossession orders and all these things. Really, it's a really powerful place to be. I think when we go through the Brexit, when we go down a little bit, some people might get themselves in trouble, especially with how easy it is to get credit cards. I'm getting sent a credit card thing every day. Do you want another one? Do you want? No, I've got 2. That's it. But there are people with 10. Let's do a little survey. Credit cards. Who's got more than 2 credit cards? Who's got? Keep your hand up. More than 3, more than 4, more than 5. All right, let's stop there. There's still people in the room. More than 5.
Yeah, I did have 8 at one time.
8. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I used to do the old switcheroo.
The switcheroo. Okay.
Yeah, so
but you see,
as long as you're on top of it, it's,
yeah.
It's a really cheap way of borrowing money.
Yes, that is true. But as long as you're on top of it, but human nature sometimes stops people.
I got proper. I ended up securing it on my house. I had like 46 grand in credit card. It's like £800 a month in minimum payment.
How much? £800 minimum payment a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the old switcheroo that we've been hearing about here doesn't always work. It's good in principle, but you've got to stick to it.
As long as you've emptied your cards and
Yeah.
then it works.
Yeah, golden tip: 0 your credit cards every month. All right. Next one. ERP and RTP. RTB. I haven't got a clue. No, I know. Early redemption penalties and early redemption penalties and right to buy. So some people are in right to buy properties. Now you have to get consent from the council or the housing association that you can take this property over. They don't always give it, but where they are in rent to buy properties and or in early redemption penalties, so a lot of people, they go in, especially younger people might go in and got early redemption penalty. Now this could be 3, 4, 5, £10,000, £20,000, and that will stay on for anything from 3 to 5 years. So sometimes they get, the buyer property circumstances change, they want to move on. So if you come in and give them a 3, 4, 5 year purchase lease option, then they can move on knowing that they're not paying that, and you're going to have the option go past that period. So when you do exercise the option, then they're not subject to that penalty because you've gone outside the period. So that again is quite a powerful way to benefit the vendor through a purchase lease option, purely by going through a time period. All good?
What's the way to find people that are in that time frame of early redemption?
Look, you won't have access to data of the mortgage company's database. You won't have that. But this is again the marketing for options. You've got to have a platform of your leaflets, or maybe in the area that, depending where you are, but newspaper adverts, cards. Those postcards that you stick up in supermarkets, golf ranges, hairdressers, stuff like that.
Reach as far as you can, basically.
Absolutely, as far as you can. All right, a mile wide. It only has to be an inch deep, but as far as you can get. All right. I used to have magnetic business cards. So every viewing I used to go in, I used to take it and I was chatting, always been a bit of banter going, a bit of fun. Yeah. And then I'd be saying, look, sorry I can't do a deal with you, but look, if you know anyone, and I'd stick it on their fridge. And occasionally I'd put them on my car and people would nick them. I think, okay, have it, it needs my name and my phone number, I didn't really care. But there were, things like this. If you want to be cheeky, leaflet cars. I'm not saying which car parks, such as supermarkets and things. You should.
Some people do that.
No, you wouldn't be doing that.
Right? From banners and stuff.
Yeah.
So the council actually take it down.
Yeah.
Trev, do you put your actual real number on there?
Yes.
No.
I've always used my number. I always take those calls. Always. Yeah, look, the thing is, we'll have a look at competitors later, tomorrow, and we're going to ring some. So we're going to look in your newspapers, in your local and adverts, and we're going to ring some of your competitors, and I'd put money on it that we won't find a personal, someone who has, who's running their own business doing it. It'll all be virtual PAs. So they won't be able to answer a question. They're going to ask to take your details because they want someone to ring you back and have a chat. But it's very rare to someone ring you back and they're the person who'll pick up the phone and they're the person.
I've got a house for you to phone tomorrow.
Okay.
Execute
Yeah.
trigger.
Yeah, we'll do it. That's cool. Okay, next one is retirement. Okay, we touched on this a little bit earlier. Retirement, when people, so we'll find some more mature people usually who have built up a number of properties for their pension, if you like. They may still have some mortgages on and they're really upset with the Section the clause 24, the tax penalty against mortgage interest not being allowed to be claimed. So you've got to pay tax on mortgage interest. So they don't like it. So they want to get out of it. But say they've got 4 or 5 properties, and if they sold all of them in 1 year, they lose their capital gains allowance. So by setting up an option contract with them to buy 1 property every year for 4 or 5 years, it benefits them, and it means that they're actually making whatever it is, £11,800 extra just by coming with you. That's quite powerful. Okay, so that's it. And the last one, ghosts. Okay, so okay, look, I keep emphasising, never make a judgment on whoever you meet in the properties, and you need to find out what the volition is for selling or even to come in. You've got to know what it is. So I went to a house once, absolutely true. The guys have been living there, this elderly couple have been living there over 40 years. And he said to me, he said, look, and I said, why are you moving? He said, I know you'll find this hard to believe. He said, but we bought new sofas recently and we're happy here, but now every time my wife comes into this room, she sees people sitting on these sofas. He said, no word of a lie. And he said, my wife, she's sound mind, everything, but she sees people actually sitting. It's only in this room on these sofas.
New sofas?
Yeah, brand new. And I said, why didn't you get rid of sofas? He said, no, we can't do that. We just want to leave the house because we're here stuff. So I haven't seen them. So I know you're laughing, but look, I know you're laughing, but can you see that picture?
Oh my God.
Okay. So if I told you that was the real picture, I'd be lying. I just took it to show you a bit of a ghost sitting on the sofa. I didn't take a picture, but that was the genuine.
Also doing yoga, so that's,
yeah, that's a fit ghost, that one, and that's not a new sofa. But the thing is, it was the real reason why I said no. They didn't want an option. They didn't want to sell at the price I was going to buy it. It's fine. I put a magnet on their fridge and I left, and that was it. But I'm never surprised with people's reasons, so you need to go with a very open mind. Don't try and close it. Your job is to find out, it's like a game of chess, find out what are they really wanting to move for. And then if you can satisfy that, then potentially you've got an option deal. Alright? Is that cool? Nice one.